All right, I'm going to make a basic PowerPoint here, just kind of going through this PowerPoint, geez, video, going through this PowerPoint of the dimensioning guidelines. Okay, so we're going to, for the part application project, your mechanical drawings are going to be really nice. We're going to do them carefully. We're going to dimension them properly. They're all going to pretty much end up looking the same between students with some slight modifications, some slight variations between them because there's standardized ways to do these things. All right, so first up, have one of your parts open, right? I put a link to the dimensioning guidelines PowerPoint right here in the course page. I have it open right here. It's in the topic for part replication. All right. Anyway, all right. So let's get back to the PowerPoint. So we have here dimensioning guidelines. Dimensions should not be duplicated or the same information given in two different ways. Oh, there we go. This will be better. All right. So the stupid thing here keeps showing up. So what you see is the problem here is this one and these ones, they're redundant, right? Because this width is here. All of these dimensions are here, right? So those are incorrect, right? Because they're redundant. We have pretty much all the dimensions we need in the front view down there below. You should not over dimension. It just makes the drawing look busy. It can actually make it a little bit harder to figure out what's going on. So the correct way to dimension this would look like this. This width can be there or it can be here. Note that a lot of the dimensions are in between the two models. It makes it a little bit easier to see what's going on, to translate the measurements over to the other view. All right. All right, no unnecessary dimensions. Only those need to produce or inspect the part. So this is an over dimension going on in here, right? You don't need both of these because you have the total height and you have this height. So then therefore that must be 0.5. So it's incorrect to have those extra dimensions in there. You don't need them. It just makes it look messy. All right. They should be attached to the view that shows the contour of the future. So the contour is like the shape of it, right? So these dimensions are better in the front view because you can see the contour. Same thing with the height, I think. Right? So those are incorrect. You want them on the front view to show the contour. This dimension, again, this one's really subjective, you know? I think we put it up here because we don't like to, I don't know. Anyway, whenever possible, avoid dimensioning to hidden lines or features. So when you look at the side view of this thing, right, it's as if you're looking at it from the right side of the part here, kind of looking, if you kind of put yourself between on the right side of the part and you looked at it lengthwise, right? This line, this dashed line is this height here, from here up to here, all right? And that's called a hidden line. That line exists, but it's behind what we're looking at here, right? It's behind. So we're looking at this face, basically, right? And this dashed line is this line back here. We don't want to dimension that. Incorrect. Correct is to put it in the front view down there. All right, don't dimension hidden lines. Avoid dimensioning over or through the object, right? We don't want to put dimensions inside the body, all right? No good. This is terrible looking, right? Incorrect. Correct. All right. Dimension should be attached only to one view. You got to really go wacky to make this happen. I've had kids do it on accident, but it's like you'd have to click this bottom corner point here and then this top corner point here to make that dimension. That's wacky. Incorrect. All right. Whenever possible, locate dimensions between adjacent views. Now, this I've seen debate on. I've seen debate on whether you really need to do this. It says whenever possible. It's not a hard, fast rule. I tend to like to put them, if it's not too many dimensions, put them towards the outside. I don't know why, but they say it's incorrect. So, and also, you know, look at this. See how this line is going through the model? You definitely don't want to do that. You definitely don't want your dimensional line to come through the model if at all possible. It just makes things look busy. So by moving them to the outside edges, you know, we can keep all those dimensions there. Now, when that wouldn't happen is if this uh, part was the other way, where it's flat on the top and for some reason it contours on the bottom, you would put the dimensions on the bottom there, on the outside of the drawings, because you don't want the dimension lines passing through the bulk of the material. Avoid crossing extension lines. Do not break them when they do cross. So it says avoid. Sometimes you can't do it. You can't help. You can't help it. The way you could avoid it a bit here would be to move this dimension to the bottom for the total width, move this dimension over to here for the total width. That's a way you could fix that. All right. Whenever possible, avoid sending extension lines through object lines, which is I was talking about. We want the dimensions to be located so that, like for instance, this vertical line here isn't going from here to here. We want it going up. Incorrect. Correct. In general, circle is dimensioned by its diameter and an arc by its radius. So we've talked a little bit about that. That's a whole. Notice the center mark there. This is something we're going to learn about. Center marks and center lines, bisector lines you call these. We're going to add these anywhere where there's holes. And that's how we dimension the location of a hole, to the center mark. And then the size of the hole is dimensioned right there like that. Arcs, fillet, chamfer, whatever it might be, or sorry, a fillet or an arc, you do it by radius. Holes are located by the center lines. We use that. They can go through the body, obviously. They have to, right? You can't dimension the location of a hole without the lines going through the body. So that is the one situation where you definitely have to send them through the body. Nothing you can do. Make it look nice. It says it should be located in the size of the view that shows the feature as a circle, right? So it should be in this view, not the top view. That's not correct. We want it in the view that shows it as a circle. All right, correct. All right. Do not cross dimension line with extension line. Avoid crossing dimensions with leader line. So this looks terrible, right? These lines crossing, it's hard to see. Easy to do. You just move the two up, move the one down, move the one over, move the 0.5 in. Easy to fix. Oh, they just went ahead and put it on the other side. But you can do that as well. Leader lines point towards the center of a circle. They should not occur horizontal or vertical. That's very true. That always looks bad when you do that. And it's confusing, right? Because you might confuse that with a different dimension. We always put them at an angle. They should be centered around arrowheads, except when using stack dimension, then the number staggered. All right, so if they're stacked like this, you got to stagger them. Otherwise, it's impossible to read. Usually, you want them between the lines, but sometimes you can't. So this would be correct. Concentric circles, like in this part, if it's multiple circles, which is a pretty common thing to do, you don't do it from the top view, right? This view, you do it from the side view so you can see them. Incorrect. Correct. All right. The object lines are crossing. There's really no way to avoid that. I mean, I guess you can move this dimension over to this side, and that would cut out one of the crossings. But there's really no way to do this one without crossing some lines. Okay? And that's it. So let's quick then go over to Inventor now. I got a few minutes. We'll make our mechanical drawing for this part. File, New, Standard.ipt. Now, if you are in Fusion 360, you stop here, go to the next video, which shows you how to make mechanical drawing in Fusion 360. If you're in Autodesk, continue on. All right, so I'm going to open up. I thought I already had the part open. In fact, I do. Close it. No, there it is. All right, File, New, Drawing. You can do it like this by clicking, or sometimes I just like clicking here, holding my mouse cursor over this, letting it, hover over it, and then click Drawing here. Makes it a DWG file. It doesn't matter, DWG, IDW. Again, in Fusion 360, this is a different process. I'm going to have to remind myself how to do that. I'll be making that video shortly. First thing we always do is we right click on sheet 1, edit sheet, size A. Today you're gonna get good at making these drawings from this. We're gonna delete that text box. So I right click, delete that ANSI text box. I'm gonna place my views. So I'm gonna place the base view. All right, so this always will be the front view first. Now I'm going to place the four views, and I'm going to adjust the scale because this is too small. I want it to be a bigger scale. So when you first place it, always puts that front view right in the middle. Now if it's weirdly oriented like this or something, or upside down, you can click these arrows to get it to where you want it. You can actually even change your front view just by doing this. You know, you can change the view you start with. So this one, I think it's best really to start it looking like this. And then move it down here, move it up here. All right, that's the top view. And then I go over here and I click. So I moved it down here, then I drag my mouse up there, and I click and drop the view. Make sure it snaps vertical. Like watch, when I drag my mouse down, it'll snap horizontal. Click again. Isometric, you just throw in there anyway. All right, and that looks great. Now the scale. I'm going to try 1 to 1 is obviously going to be way too big. All right, 1 is just too much of the paper. So let's go 0.75. All right, that looks good. I hit OK. All right, so now, next thing. Oh, man, we're running out of time here. Double click here. Turn on the shading for that part. Hit OK. So I double clicked on the isometric view. I turn on the shading here. Hit OK. Then I start dimensioning. All right, so it wants me to dimension stuff where it shows the contours. Well, this view has a lot of contour of a few things. This one has this arc, this circle. So what we're going to do here is annotate. First thing I'm going to do is mark my circle up, all right, with some center marks. So right here is your center mark. Anywhere where there's a circle, you place the center mark. There's the center mark of the circle. Now the next thing is what are called centerline bisector. All right, click that. When you click the two lines, it'll put a line between them to show you where the center line of that hole is. It's a little bit hard to see here. Where's the hole? Well, it's right here and right here, and right here and right here. And that's kind of where we're going to start here. Now, next thing. All right, start my dimensions. Again, it's telling us to do it where it shows the contour. So a lot of this I'm going to do in this view. So I'm going to go here to here. All right, okay. I'm going to go here to here. All right, I'm going to go here to here. Now there's going to be some crossing lines here, which is not great, but it is what it is. And here to here. All right, I'm going to hit escape, move my isometric a little bit. Now, bell's going to ring here, so I'm going to have to pause this recording and come back to it in a second here. So again, I'm dimensioning where I see the most contour. All right. I guess I should notate that location as well. That'll pretty much take care of that corner there. Hit OK. You can adjust these things, which is nice. Come on, I gotta hit escape. There we go. Centered between the arrows is where we want them. So we're doing pretty well here so far. Now, again, this is the top view. All right, so probably I'm going to dimension from here to here, and then from here to here. All right, and I don't need to dimension that bottom one because the total width is dimensioned up here. Now, one more thing I have to do in this view. I have to do this one. And there's no way to dimension this one without sending a line through your object. All right? All right, so the hole now, its location, remember it said to mark it from the center line. All right, so I suppose I should mark it back to this line. And centered, I guess I should do it from the center mark here. Oops, that was the bell. I'm going to pause it here in a second. There we go, the location of it here. And I want this to line up with the dimensions above it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and I'll come back to it in a minute. All right, back at it here. We just finished a couple periods of class, so back at our drawing here. We left off, I was dimensioning the location of this hole here. So I got the vertical, got that way. Um, you cannot avoid sending lines through parts. You want to minimize it though, right? So I've got most of my dimensions right now in here. Now another thing I have to do, the hole and thread. So right now, so far, we've just been doing this dimension. Let's just follow up here real quick and make sure that we don't need anything else to mention here. Let me just pause this again and close my door so we can. All right, back at it one more time. Now we're closed up, finishing stuff up here. All right, so um, back to it one more time. The locations here, you can't avoid going through the body in some of these parts. Now, let's just kind of go through here and see if we have everything location. Okay, so top view, I know how deep this cutout's going to be. I know this thickness, I know this thickness, therefore I know this thickness because I know this over here, I know this over here, this over here. So let's look in this drawing. I know this thickness, this must be 1 inch right here. I know this location has to be 1 inch here. What I don't know is this height. I don't know this height from this view. I'm going to guess it's 1 inch, right? It must be. And technically, well, maybe I do know it because this line's up here. I guess technically I don't know the overall height this way either. So let's put those in this view. Put this over here. Okay. And I'll put this here. All right. So now I know that, and by extension I know this. So I know this, I know this, I know this, and the location. That's there. Anything else I need? Let's go look at this view now. All right. So this is looking at it from this side. Sometimes this is why the isometric's good to have because it's kind of, what am I looking at here? Well, you're looking at it from kind of that view there, right? From this view here. So this shape, this line is this shape. This line as well, it's kind of this shape in this corner. So let's see, do I know this width? Yep, that's, believe it or not, this 1 inch is this width here. This total width is 2 inches. The height, 2 inches, we know. This location, we know. Okay, we've got everything dimensioned. The only thing we don't have dimensioned are the diameters of this and this arc here. All right. All right. In fact, though, this will lead to an over dimension. Remember, it said to actually, if I do it as a whole, which is I think how I made it. So you click hole and thread. If you just do dimension, it's just going to do it like that. Watch what happens when you do hole and thread. It gives us a little more information. See that? 1 inch through. If you remember, if you use the hole, you probably did a 1 inch through hole. So that's nice. I'm going to get rid of that one. I'm going to leave this dimension, 1 inch through. All right? It needs to be at a little bit of an angle here. Now this arc here, well, we know that the end is 5 inches to here. We know it's 4 inches to here. We don't technically know that that is an arc. So I am going to put a dimension on that. Radius 1 inch. So that tells us that that arc has a radius of 1 inch. Now, here's the trick now. We are over dimensioned. We don't need this 5 now. We don't need that 5 inches now because we know this is 4 inches. We know the radius of this arc is 1 inch. Therefore, it must be 5 inches from here to here. That's a very minor over dimension it's actually kind of nice to see that dimension here, but watch what this does. If we delete this dimension, we get rid of that line passing through here, which is, kind of nice, actually. So that's all the dimensions for this drawing. All right. Try not to over dimension. I usually give you a free pass on one of them. This is looking a little too big now that I've added in all these dimensions, Um, it's getting kind of crowded out. So I might double click on that and drop its scale down to 0.7, make it a little smaller, maybe even more, 0.5. That's too small, I don't like that. 0.6, yeah, that'll be good. All right, and then we just have it up there. And this one, I don't actually need any dimensions on that. Last thing to do, throw a text box down here, your name, all right, and the, part rep, well, usually we do engineering 1. Part replication part 1. And then the date you finished it. It's going to give you a warning here about an equation. Just hit OK. All right, hit OK. Hit escape. Move the text box over. So that's a nice mechanical drawing. Um, we're good to go. So what I'll do is I'll actually export this PDF file of this, and I'll put this on the course page as kind of an example for you to look at and replicate. I might do a couple of them. I would like you to try to do a couple of them on your own to make sure you know what you're doing, but I'll do a couple of them for you so you can get a feel for it, so you can kind of replicate what I did and make it accurate, make it correct, make it look nice. All right? All right. Good. Great. Wonderful.